Hello and welcome back to our look through the range of Jack Daniels, and hopefully we'll be looking at least by their by the brand's stipulation, the best whiskey, brought to you by the worst cat who won't even turn around. Once again, it's Mingus, who is shortly going to knock over something crucial, I'm sure. But until that happens, we will crack into it.
We have Jack Daniels Single Barrel Select. Key difference here, obviously, single barrel, single cask whiskey. Bottled at 45% as to 40, opposed to 40 for the first two we have tried earlier in our previous episodes. No key indications of whether it's an older whiskey or not. Who knows? It seems that they tend to choose the whiskey based on quality over any particular age, so...
Stay focused, Dave, stay focused. Yes. Pouring with cats in your face is part of the job.
Oh. And here we go, in an elegant, again, glass miniature evoking the full-size bottle which this normally comes in. This is one I've really been looking forward to out of this entire lineup, so I'm hoping for good things.
And here it goes. It begins.
That's alright, we weren't using those. And the lids are on firmly.
Yes, I think they are, so we're okay there. So, always going to jump off. Hallelujah, the mic is still on the table. First time for everything.
That is a lovely colour. That is a
good colour, and I don't believe these are coloured. So we'll hope that we are dealing with older whiskey. But then again,
it's
could just be
stronger.
Yeah, it's stronger whiskey, and with strength comes concentration of colour. So it could just be the extra 5% there. I'm not sure. Either way, promising we start there.
The label literature does. Just first, nothing in particular, just a more robust and bold flavour. Notes of toasted oak, vanilla and caramel. No surprises there in that description. We'll see if there are any other surprises from this particular cask, whichever went into here.
I wish it gave us some inkling as to the age of the cask, but it sadly does not, so we'll just have to...
After the comparative insipidity of the Gentleman Jack, the double filtered offering, there is a lot more wood, a lot more smoke, lots more vanilla and caramel coming through on the nose. There's a lot happening here compared to previous offerings, and I like that.
Yeah, this is a fuller whiskey from the kick-off, and I suspect quite a lot of that is coming from this increased 5%, but there is more than that despite. So I think we are presumably dealing with older whiskey, because single cask may be, that doesn't mean the whiskey is going to be any different.
No.
I mean, these all came from very, very similar
You do get
casks.
a certain refinement to the sort of flavour profile from taking whiskey from one cask only instead of muddling together a whole bunch of different casks.
I suspect in the case of most single cask bourbons or cask select bourbons, they are plucked from the fairly active zone in the rick cask.
And the literature from Jack Daniels says they use roughly 1% of their casks for single cask bottlings. So one barrel out of every 100 gets selected and they turn it into one of these. Smells good anyway.
Yeah,
there's rich grains, rich vanilla, lots of syrup, and a good amount of wood smoke.
There's less prickle and more warmth, I'd say, than the other two. It's warming, but not necessarily a burning kind of a nose. There was just a wee bit of burn in those other two, kind of right around the edges there. And again, it's pretty wood driven here, as the whole range has been, and as it was always likely to be, given the taxonomy of the whiskey. But there's a bit more depth to this one. The charcoal is a little more layered, and the oak flavours are a little more layered. The vanilla is much drier, and so is the caramel. And with a drier, when your sweet flavours are less sweet, it gives there so much more room for other nuance to come into the whiskey. If you've got super sweet vanilla and super sweet caramel, then they're just really, really dominant, and they kind of wash over and wash away anything that might be a little more subtle. But when they are themselves a little more subtle, a little quieter on the palate and the nose, then there's room for these sort of quiet, lilting flavours where a lot of the spice is to come in. And I think that's what's happening here.
There is certainly a lot of body, despite that filtration happening before it's been aged. There's a good oily cling on the glass, and just the richness of that colour and the obvious body of it is hinting at good things to come. So I'm keen to dive on in and see how it tastes.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, I'm calling it now. This is easily the best of the bunch so far. There is a strength and warmth up front, but then there are layers of wood and vanilla and gentle spices and some lingering bready grains and a nice smooth, moderately sweet finish.
That 5% does a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of the force of flavour in here is... It's got an increased burn as well, but that's fine. That's entirely acceptable.
It works here. It is a perfect complement to the increased strength of those flavours. It doesn't have, again, that wonderfully sooty finish that I picked from the old number 7, the basic Jack Daniels, if you will. But even without that, there is still plenty happening here. This is a very, very engaging, very sippable American whiskey.
It's still back palate heavy. It's still fairly neutral in terms of its body, but compared... If I stop comparing it to bourbon and start comparing it to the rest of Jack Daniels, then there's a hell of a lot more going on. There's a lot more... There's more depth, there's more complexity.
Yeah.
There is more concentration. Concentration is the big thing. There is just better concentration of flavour in all aspects of this particular expression. I'll just give it a wee smidge of water. Not too much.
I'll go for a little water, but only after I've had a good sample of this drink, I think. Yeah, it just delivers more on all fronts, I think. It's simply a better expression of what the style of whiskey can be.
Sweeter with the water, quite a lot sweeter. I think this one, the gentle... Oh, no, it's the... what's it called? Single barrel select. Even, with a little bit of water. That's only just now come into the range of things I would very contentedly just sip neat. Room temperature as they are, or in this case with a wee bit of water, because I think that sort of warms it up a wee bit. It's a bit weird that it's taken this long to get here, that we've had to really approach the ultra premium end of things to really get into the money in terms of sort of sippability, in terms of our particular peculiarities and our habits for sipping things. Again, we are Scotch people, so we're not experts in the field of American whiskey, let alone Tennessee whiskey, but we still know what we like. That's kind of our whole modus operandi here at the Single Malt Review.
I'm trying to detach somewhat from bourbon experience. I know there's obviously some common lineage here, but the process is different enough that it's better to evaluate this as its own entity and not just compare it continuously to some of the many superb bourbons we've had. But speaking of superb, this is a really good expression though. This is I'd say it's a very relaxing dram. It's a real sort of sit back, look at the sunset, and just sip this slowly, and there's just a mildness, but still a kind of continuous, stalwart strength to it. It just keeps delivering. There's a lot of flavour, but it's not trying to tantalise the senses or overwhelm you or explode your palate or anything like that. It's consistent and it's steady, and it is rewarding and engaging to drink slowly and to savour.
I just call it good. It's the first one that's good enough.
It does it too.
Yeah,
good is a good word for it.
It's the first. It's getting into the proper sipping bourbon or Tennessee whiskey, in the case may be, which is really what I'm looking for. Not being a big mixing guy, I'll enjoy stuff with ice, but I don't tend to.
The idea of mixing a single cask whiskey sounds slightly...
Well, it'd just be an extremely expensive mixer at this point as well. This is not cheap whiskey by any means. No. Once we're down this, sharp end of the price stick, deep end of the wallet. So that would be a pretty pricey assumption there. But anyway, scores for this one. We have finally kicked into gear here.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably a pretty strong 88 from me now. This is not bad at all. Yeah. What do you think?
I'm jumping up a level. This is an 85 from me. This is solid stuff. It's very it's refreshing and relaxing to drink. It's got a lot of flavour, a lot of character too. It's sort of like a consolidation of all that's been good about the previous offerings, taking all the best parts and just elevating them, bringing them up slightly, so they really just stand out.
Certainly is, for me, it's where Jack Daniels has hit its stride.
And if I decide that my shelf needs, if I need a Tennessee whiskey on the shelf, it's probably going to be the Jack Daniels Single Barrel Select.
Yeah. Well, just the Tennessee honey to go, and I'll tell you now, my hopes, as someone who generally despises liqueurs, especially honey ones. My hopes are not astronomically high, but
it's here, so we should probably
we'll
give it a
approach
try.
it fairly anyway. So look forward to that one.
Right back with that.
Lampoons incoming. Slanger, we'll be right back.